U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Moe has a warning for Prime Minister Mark Carney. In an interview with CNBC, Moe was asked about Carney's speech in Davos and whether he thinks Canada will face consequences going into upcoming trade talks.
I am saying that I would not pick a fight going into USMCA to score some cheap political points. Either you are working for your own political career or you're working for the Canadian people.
Moe's comments come as premiers gather in Ottawa to meet with the Prime Minister ahead of those consequential CUSMA talks. Joining me now is Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe. Premier Moe, good to see you again. Thanks for being here today, sir.
Good to see you, David.
When we last spoke, it was right after the deal with China had been struck. Now there's a reaction from the U.S. These vague threats from the president of 100% tariffs, and now Treasury Secretary Moe accusing Mark Carney of virtue signaling and saying a technocrat can't transition to politics. What do you make of where things are with the U.S. because of all this?
Well, I'd say maybe 3 points. First, they're in a challenging spot, and we have ebbs and flows almost daily, but for sure weekly with that relationship recently. Second, I would say, and I've said this often, is we need to just take a breath when there's political rhetoric that's being spoken about wherever that might be, but in particular with our relationship with the U.S. and take a breath and ensure that we are working towards dealing with what is and what the facts are. Last but not least, we need to remember what our ultimate goal is with many countries, but in particular the United States of America, which is what I would say is hopefully to find our way to a renewed CUSMA agreement of some type, or at least some trade certainty with the U.S. And that looks very challenging in the short term, but I think in the medium to long term that has to remain the goal that we have as Canadians, despite the very challenging relationship that can change day to day.
I mean, the national objective seems pretty clear of maintain as much market access to the U.S. as possible under this administration and hedge your bets with deals like China, right, to have diversification. What you hear, though, from the U.S. officials, like Treasury Secretary Moe, is you're picking a fight with the United States in the run-up to CUSMA to virtue signal for your own politics, is what he's saying about Prime Minister Carney. How do you view that sort of critique coming from the top levels of the U.S. government?
We've heard much of that from the very top levels of the U.S. government and directly from the president himself over the last number of months. Whether going back a number of months ago to the fentanyl tariffs that were being talked about for the reasoning for the very initial tariffs that were applied. And so, as I say, we always have to step back from this, and it can be hurtful at times, and I'm sure people take it personal at times, but as political leaders, we need to take a step back from that, and we need to realize what our broader goal is, not only with the U.S., but with countries around the world. And the U.S., our largest trading partner, but if we're truly going to be able to determine our own net destiny, we need to be engaging, not with all, but virtually with all countries around the world on what opportunities we have to truly diversify that trade. But the basis of that trade is going to be with the U.S., and we can't take our eye off that ball.
So we mostly get our updates on this from the outside, with whatever latest, reverberation we get from the White House or at the cabinet level of the U.S. You're going to get a briefing of some sort from the Prime Minister tomorrow when the premiers get together with Mark Carney. What are you looking for there in terms of an update of where things stand and how likely this is to be successful?
Well, I'm sure we'll have our own discussions, whether it be amongst premiers and our very diverse country on some of the issues that we might have with one another, and that's fair enough. What I hope transpires from the meetings today and tomorrow with the other premiers and the Prime Minister is really focused on that, determining our own destiny, committing to the ability to engage with countries around the world so that we can be there to take advantage of opportunities, trade opportunities, economic opportunities as they might arise. And second would be to continue with the efforts that we're making to expand the opportunity for investments into industries in our nation that are creating wealth for Canadians. If we do those two things, expand our market access and not be picking which countries we deal with, but engaging with all countries and then choosing where the opportunities are. And the same is supporting the investment and the opportunities to expand all of the industries in our nation. I think in this very uncertain environment, we're going to find some opportunities for Canadians.
So there are really kind of three tracks going on right now, right? There's the Canada-U.S. conversation, there's the global diversification attempts, and then there's the internal economic development, major projects,
right,
and resource extraction. But on the Canada-U.S., the state of the negotiations, what do you hope to hear there? Because, I mean, we can see sort of the deal making the Prime Minister's trying to do. He's traveling the world with great frequency. What do you hope to hear tomorrow, and what are you worried you might hear?
Well, I would say that's in the deal making that we see in other countries, and that's a positive. We see Minister Hodgson in India right now at an energy summit. That's where he should be, and we commend him for that. With respect to the relationship with the United States of America and our discussions that happen tomorrow, that is the core of our Canadian trade, and I would hope that we are advancing, not only with the renewal of CUSMA, which is going to be challenging with the rhetoric that we hear day in, day out. But then there's also the parallel discussion around some of the sector-by-sector tariffs that have happened. So I don't expect that we're going to come to a resolution there quickly, but hey, I thought China, restoring trade with China might have taken a little longer as well. So we'll, I think that the important thing is for our Canadian government, supported by provinces like Saskatchewan, that has a very global footprint and global relationships that I think can be helpful, is for us to keep engaging. Yes, there's going to be comments that come, but keep engaging on the broader goal that we have.
So there's been some criticism of what the Prime Minister had to say at Davos, right? That he was poking the bear in the United States. Then they respond by threatening to use the power of their economy to punish Canada for looking at other options, which kind of proved, I guess, the central thesis. Do you think he made a mistake, or do you broadly support the message he delivered there?
Yes and no. In part, I think Canada truly does have the opportunity to be a real leader in that middle power space when it comes to engagement and trade with countries around the world, but do that alongside restoring the relationship and the trade that we have with the United States of America. That isn't easy, given what was said this morning by Secretary Bessent and what's been said over the course of the last number of months, in fairness, by both the President and some Canadians as well. But we need to see beyond that. That's difficult to do. It is difficult to do. But we do need to see beyond that for the greater good of Canada. And if we get this right, and it isn't going to be easy, in particular in the short term, I think there is a tremendous opportunity for Canadians and Canada more properly to be very much an economic leader in that middle power space, and that should be our goal.
Do you think the Prime Minister is getting it right? Because even when we spoke last about the China détente, Doug Ford quite upset with that, right? Pork still unresolved. So, and even the tariff relief that exists on some of the sectors, temporary rather than permanent because of a refusal to sort of lift steel quotas, as part of a thing. So what are your thoughts on the balance the Prime Minister striking here and what disruption it may be causing with the premiers?
Well, first, yes, I do largely think he's getting it right by engaging in these countries, whether it be China, whether it be India, and I think we have some additional opportunities with India to restore some of the tariff-free trade that we've had there in years gone by, and to expand into the energy space more largely. So yes, I do think we're getting it right by being in country and engaging with these countries. Second to that, I would say we are getting it right by starting to remove some of the legacy regulations that we have that weren't achieving what they set out to achieve, and we're really stymieing some of the investment in industries within Canada that were creating wealth. And so, back to those really parallel things that are happening, our relationship with the United States of America from a trade perspective, our relationship and expansion, diversification into other countries, and then getting it right on how we're, building the industries that are creating value here at home. Those three things, I think, are imperative to Canada's success moving forward. And, with respect to my colleague, Premier Ford, I've been around the Premier's table with him for a long time. Through some discussions, I think he's starting to be able to see a path for his auto workers in the auto industry in light of the agreement with China. And we as a province of Saskatchewan that don't have an auto industry, we're going to do what we can to support our fellow Canadians in the ways that we can too.
Well, Doug Ford went from pretty mad to having pizza with the Prime Minister, so we'll see where that one lands. But just as a final point, Premier, Doug Ford criticized the China arrangement, saying Ontario got nothing, happy for canola farmers. But, Andrew Scheer, a fellow Saskatchewan politician, he said it doesn't go far enough in terms of relief for canola farmers. What are you seeing in terms of what this means for the canola farmers in your province?
Well, I want to see it go further as well. However, what we're seeing is we're starting to see the movement of canola from the farm gate. That wasn't happening over the course of the last 3, 4, 5 months. So we're starting to see that, and we're seeing some upward pressure in the market as well. And so that's a positive. Would we like to see an internal agreement with no tariffs in sight forever and ever with China and other countries? Certainly. This is better than what we had yesterday. It's providing certainty not only for the sale of canola this year, as we have about 600,000 tons that are on their way to China as we speak, but also providing certainty for the cropping plans for next year. So it's very timely, and I think it's integral to the success of the canola industry and the ag industry across Canada, not just in the prairies.
It does feel like, Premier, like the period of stable, predictable trade, it may be over for the foreseeable future. Like, it's going to go to a managed trade arrangement maybe, because free trade has been weaponized, and here we are, right? People are paying a real price, and the stability thing seems like a thing of the past.
And it speaks to a few things. One is to be in market. And I said Minister Hodgson is at an energy summit in India right now. We've long been engaging with India, not only on ag products, but the potential for energy products and the opportunities that we have to be in market, engaging on that market access. Second is, when it comes to the industries in Canada, we need to what true determining your own destiny means is not picking which industries we're going to move forward with, but supporting all of the industries that are creating wealth. Not having discussions about which industry should move forward, but having discussions about how those industries are going to expand and are going to benefit everyone as Canadians from coast to coast to coast.
Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe, always appreciate the time. Thanks for coming in, sir.
Thank you, David.